Prime Minister Modi will be part of the Bastille Day celebrations in Paris today. Earlier, he addressed the Indian diaspora in France and he announced that India's most successful payment system, UPI, will be used in France soon.
Risha, that basically means that Indian tourists, while they are in France, they can use rupees. And that's going to start from the Eiffel Towers in the coming days. Now, in a historic moment, French President Emmanuel Macron bestowed the Grand Cross of the Legion of Honor on Prime Minister Modi, the highest French honor in military or civilian orders. This is making Prime Minister Modi the first Indian Prime Minister to receive that honor. Now joining us on the broadcast are Jitendranath Misra, former ambassador, as well as Dr. Rajiv Nayan, senior fellow of Manohar Parrikar Institute for Defence Studies and Analyses. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Well, Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the geopolitical changes it triggered have brought a new European awareness of the strategic importance of India and vice versa. Ambassador Jitendranath Misra, now we know big ticket deals on the radar in Paris. But isn't the Prime Minister's France visit also an opportunity for us in India to assert its strategic autonomy?
Oh yes, absolutely. And France, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me on your show. It's great to be back on NDTV.
It's a pleasure to have you, sir.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you very much. You are absolutely right, and it's not something new. If you look at the history of the relationship, there has been a deep level of congruence in our policies with regard to the international system. Both countries prize what they call their strategic autonomy. France has been a little bit of an outlier in the Western alliance system, as you know, treading a fairly independent line consistently over the last 7 or 8 decades, and India, of course, after independence. So this is definitely a reaffirmation of strategic autonomy by both sides. Both sides are telling the world and each other that we have other options than the United States or China or other major partnerships, regardless of what is happening in the rest of the world. And we can do it, and we can do it together.
Right, Dr. Rajiv Nayan, the Prime Minister received the highest honor as far as France is concerned. The Prime Minister was bestowed the Grand Cross of the Legion of Honor, making the Prime Minister the first Indian to receive this honor. When we talk about the friendship between India and France, the Prime Minister describes it as unbreakable. We are not allies, but France is the biggest supporter, especially when it comes to the UNSC, doesn't it?
No, definitely, and I just support what Ambassador Misra has just said. Really, India and France have got very time-tested relationship. As he rightly pointed out, that outside the socialist Soviet bloc, one country on which India really relied was France, even during the Cold War period. Even after that, and France always took side of India in very crucial moments. And especially if we can recall the situation after Macron explosion in 1998, France and a few more countries, at that time it was G8, not G7, and the Soviet Union, Russia was of course there, and they took a different line there, and they did not toe the line of the Western countries, other Western countries. So France has been a very different kind of country. So obviously the United Nations Security Council or such things are will look very small when you discuss about the Indian-French relationship. It is quite larger. It has got a strategic dimension, and we in fact are guided by strategic vision. And as Prime Minister rightly pointed out yesterday, that last 25 years and 25 years ahead, we see a different kind of relationship evolving between the two countries. And it is not restricted to one area or another area. It is multidimensional, it is comprehensive, it is in different strategic fields. So this is what really defines the relationship between the two countries. Rebels of the rebel of the bloc during the Cold War, having a different line. I will not say just taking an alternative perspective, but it is definitely complementing the relationship. Allies somehow I am not very comfortable with the idea of discussing whether it is an ally or a friend, because it is an old notion. When this entire concept was constructed, there were two blocks, two kind of alliance systems existing during the Cold War,
right,
or even that. So now that I think that term has become meaningless. So whether we are an ally or a friend, I think we should not get into that kind of debate where we are having relationship, we are having partnership. We can also call ourselves allies, like United States. Sometimes I think we sometimes
right,
tend
gentlemen.
to
Thank you so much for joining us with that quick comment. I'm afraid we're completely out of time, but thank you so much for making time for us here on NDTV. Before departing for Paris, the Prime Minister made a strong pitch for the overhauling of the international political economic architecture and described India as a bridge between the West and the global South. Let's see how this Paris trip winds up. We'll keep tracking the latest.
A whole lot planned out, including the Bastille Day celebrations and, of course, also that banquet that's been planned out. So we will keep tracking the movements of the Prime Minister in France, and, of course, from there he goes to the UAE. We'll be back with a whole lot more. For now, we're stepping into a short break.